Welcome to the second part of the Gaoranger review series, covering episodes 15 through 31 of the series. We have a lot to discuss, so let's get into it by talking about the story so far. After Gaorangers defeat the first Geek Org Shuten, a new one known as arrives in his place, causing the Gaorangers even more pain and chaos. But that's not as important as the revived Duke Org Roki returned to settle a millennium-long grudge with the Gaorangers as well. Are our heroes finally cooked? Well, we both know the answer, but how it happens is pretty cool. As you can probably tell, almost immediately gets overshadowed by Roki in this arc, so we'll mainly be talking about him. Isn't bad though, having a bit more of a personality and goals than Shuten, but not by much. Honestly, the most interesting thing with is Susue and Yobaiba's relationship with him, as he's way more dismissive towards the two of them and their antics, and for a lot more comedic potential as the two try to prove themselves to the apathetic boss, as such as the episode where Shueshue steals some guide on how to be a better employee, and they end up justifying their L in the end due to the book encouraging that it's best to throw your fellow employee under the bus in times of crisis. Oh yeah, that's another thing to mention. Despite the show upping its stakes quite considerably with the Roki arc, the show becomes a lot more funny. Not to say the first arc didn't have some humor in it, but from this point forward, the show tries way harder in being comedic, which I really enjoy actually, as it makes the show a lot more fun to watch. While there's some instances where they kind of go too hard with some of the jokes, Gao Yellow's English is very far in between in terms of generally being funny. But almost everything that has to do with Kakeru and his "I'm a veterinarian" joke, it's fairly funny. Like when the Monster of the Week replaces a bunch of people's voices with cat noises, he understands them perfectly for no other reason than him being a veterinarian. Had me cracking up, especially when the rest of the team is blatantly just like, what does that mean? Also want to go back to the thing I mentioned about Shushue and Yobaiba in that episode, with the two of them setting up a haunted house to defeat the Gaorangers, and the Gaorangers just rush through it and come out asking the two of them just how stupid they think they are. Just funny stuff, man. But yeah, let's finally get back to talking about Roki, and why he's not only pretty cool, but actually important for the entirety of Sentai.
Duke Org Roki.
So I think everyone would agree when I say Roki's the best villain in Gaoranger, right? Whether it be due to his cool design and voice, he just has a level of aura around him that none of these other Gaorangers villains can even imagine having. There's also the fact that he actually elevates both the Gaoranger and Org side of the conflict. The Org side by giving Swiftway and Yobaiba another guy to bounce their comedy routine off of, because they hate Roki because unlike them, he can actually do his job well. Leading to many scenes where they probably could have helped Roki fight against the Gaorangers, they decide not to just out of spite. On the Gaoranger side of things, he helps to make them feel like a more interesting unit. Him finally giving them that little spark that makes them more enduring despite how basic they are. As when they're confronted with Roki's grudge against them, they actually try and figure out why he feels that way, and what they could do to possibly end it, making one to see them actually succeed in understanding and overcoming Roki. A task made way harder once Roki one by one takes the Gaoranger's power animals. Scenes that, well, fall kind of short due to the fact that almost all the power animals are gotten in a rather weird way, still creates very well done scenes, and made me more attached to these characters, but seeing the way they try to stay strong in the face of that happening to them. Whether it be Kakeru comforting Kai and the rest of the team, or Tomoe comforting Gaku. Gaku's instance being way worse, as throughout the entire episode where he had his power animals taken away from him, he was fighting against the constant embarrassment he feels for not being able to kill the first Org he ever fought. For to finally defeat that Org and then just a few minutes later have his power animals taken from him is just the ultimate slap in the face to his confidence. It's a really good episode, but you may be asking, why Roki removes the Gaoranger's power animals? Oh, that's simple, to combine them with his mech, Gao Hunter, made out of 3 power animals he just always had for some reason. Yeah, in the middle of all the jokes and savagery, Roki is prone to many weird quirks for an Org. Whether it be the fact that he not only has but can perfectly control 3 power animals, but that seemingly being impossible for an Org, or his lack of interest in killing any human or animal who isn't one of the Gaorangers, such as when he blatantly attacked an Org for hurting a dog, or when he uncharacteristically healed Sei with herbs similar to the ones that Tomoe used back in the base to help them. Or when he defeated Gao Yellow, he started bleeding red blood instead of the green goop that Orgs usually do. Or when he thinks of the past and only imagines this one random human instead of himself. Or how there's an episode he's only in for a single scene because he can't fight under a new moon, and then Kakeru mentions that he saw the dog Roki protected hang out with some guy skinny dipping in a lake at night at the exact same time. Yeah, you couldn't tell, Roki is actually a human. A twist which, when you ignore me just putting all the details out there like this, is done pretty solidly for what it's worth. His human identity being the 6th Gao warrior from 1,000 years ago in the Heian period. Having became Roki so he could create Gao Hunter and defeat the ultimate Org Hyakimaru. His grudge against the Gaorangers having been created due to him forgetting his human identity and being sealed by his friends in the past. So after another battle, they get 2 more power animals that make their mech a soccer player, and help from the precursor of all power animals, Gao God. Yes, they do literally need God to intervene in order to defeat Roki. It'll be more important next time. Roki is dead, and we're left with Tsukimaru Ogami, also known as Shirogane, which I'll call him for the rest of the video because I like it better. I guess we gotta rename this to the Shirogane section. But anyway, Shirogane is a decent 6. Like the rest of the Gaorangers, he's pretty generic as a character, basically embodying the 6th Ranger archetype. Like he's literally a lone wolf, and we talking about how he'll just go wherever the wind takes him. A pure embodiment of edgelord. But like that type of character, I do think there is some complexity to him. as he harbors a unique sense of self-hatred, feeling himself to be completely at fault for what happened with Roki, because if he was stronger, he wouldn't have thought his successors and become a tool of the orgs he hated so much, instead of not even work alongside Gaorangers because he feels like he doesn't have the right to, which is stupid because they don't see it that way, and it literally doesn't benefit him. As the moment he tries to fight against the orgs, he utterly fails with his power animals, leaving him because he only finds the orgs in order to satiate his hatred. Something the Gao warriors are not supposed to do, as instead they should be fighting out of a righteous sense to protect others. Instead of fighting like a Gao warrior, Shirogane is fighting like an orc. But this changes when Shirogane sees the Gaorangers fight orc crew, the power animals he stole for them, and can do nothing to help. Their pain and cries causing him to fight against the orc, knowing full well he could die in the process. But he doesn't, as his action causes his power animals to come back to him and create the G4 Embrace, transforming the Gao Silver for the first time, as his soul, pitch black and full of self-hatred, is cracked by the shining light of justice, starting a journey of his edgy facade being broken more and more over the show. Particularly broken by Sei and Totomu, which is kind of cute, as bro's really shy when it comes to them generally seeing through his facade for the nice guy he is. It stops being cute once you realize one of these girls is 16, and even about the 1,000 years he was asleep, he's a grown man. The other girl is his dead girlfriend's granddaughter.
Brother,
But to get away from that concerning thought, now that we got Gao Silver, let's talk about some aesthetic stuff with him. When it comes to Gao Silver and his aesthetics, he'll be going from his general just design and place on the toy line to the world building he provides as a character. When it comes to Gao Silver's design, in and of itself, yeah, he's pretty cool. He doesn't look too different from the other Gaorangers except he's silver and blue and looks like a wolf. But sometimes that's all you need. We can also talk about his weapon, the Gao Hustler Rod, which is a rod, sniper rifle, and pool cube. What? God, I love Tokusatsu. This pool player thing isn't limited to just in suit though, as he essentially lives in a pool lounge ran by just this random guy, who's actually played by Roki's suit actor, which is kind of cool. This leads to a kind of funny relationship that teaches us things about Shirogane, such as him not being able to count apparently. Also, Shirogane, as you can see, has his own version of the Gaoranger jacket, but it's all silver and kind of like black, sort of blue looking. I don't like it as much as the other 5 jackets, but I think it looks good on him and does a kind of good job tying him into the team while also showing that he's not fully the same as the rest of them. I much prefer the outfit he had on inside the Roki armor though. Makes him look like a cool night dude, which he kind of is, I guess. Moving on from the suit, because all of that would be left to talk about is his changer, which is just a phone in the shape of a wolf. Let's talk about his mech, Gao Hunter. I don't like it as much as Gao King or Muscle, but it's still kind of cool. That's unless we're talking about Gao Hunter Blue Moon, which is a better color combo with the blue crocodile. But that hasn't appeared in the show yet. My favorite thing about Gao Hunter in general, though, is that there's 2 different forms for when Roki or Shirogane controls it. There's Gao Hunter Evil and Gao Hunter Justice, respectively, with the horn changing to resemble either user's face. But that's just really cool, and it's something I wish that other Sentai mechs controlled by Rangers who switch from evil to good had. But there's one other example with Kyoryu Gold's mech. That's 12 years later, and it's not as cool of a change, sadly. Also, Gao Wolf can become a motorcycle for whatever reason. It's cool though. It makes for a decent shot in the intro, as Gao Silver is the first 6th Ranger in Sentai to actually get a title card in the opening, and also an appearance in the ending. Before this, their names would still be in there, and maybe have a brief appearance of their suits in there as well, but Shirogane is the first one to get the title card with his credit on it for the 5 other Rangers in the show. Something that every single 6th Ranger after him got, unless they were just a suited character, but they still got to be in there with the rest of the team though. And now that we're done with that, let's move to what the depiction of the old Gaorangers actually say about Gaoranger's cultural inspiration. As Shirogane is from the Heian era, during this time the idea of the Onmyoji was in practice, which were a type of mystical advisors said to be able to see spirits in life. The main spirits they saw were yokai, beings that were said to live in objects or become people sometimes, helping or harming the humans they interacted with. Which when put like that, I think you can see the resemblance the yokai has to the power animals. Like even in this arc, you have one of the power animals, Gao Modillo, being a little soccer ball until he decides to come out with Gao Rhino in order to help defeat Roki. Again, the soccer form is crazy, but they go even beyond this. The Onmyoji would often use a type of pentagram in order to seal demons or yokai away, with each point of the star representing one of the 5 elements of Japanese mythology. Like how we have fire, water, earth, air, and sometimes aether, or basically a godly element. The Japanese and many other Asian countries have fire, water, earth, wood, and metal as their central elements. Each Gaoranger kind of representing one of these elements, with Kakeru being fire, Gaku being wood, Kai being water, Sotaro being earth, and Sei being metal. Even this video by YouTuber Gaijin Duo, where I first heard of the Onmyoji, uses a pentagram that actually has the Gaoranger's colors on it. The colors don't exactly match up, why they use black for water, but you get the idea. The pentagram is also actually used in Gaoranger, as it was the previous Gaorangers used to seal Roki. But to get into the last bit of the section, why is there a group of Gaorangers from 1,000 years ago? There's no clear answer. They just happen to have tried to kill humanity 1,000 years ago, and now there's a group trying to kill humans now, with no true end in sight, as proven in the episode after Gao Silver's debut, as Shiran immediately kills Ura in his debut. In the very next fight, a new Duke Orb, Onihime, is there. Like, sure, this is kind of a fluke as it's just a remnant of Ura fused with Sesue that gets defeated in the same episode of debuts, and Ura revives in the episode after that. But it also shows just the very random way that this battle with the Orbs could just continue. Just something worth thinking about. Let's talk about some other things real quick before we end the video. So I want to talk about 3 episodes in particular before we leave. 2 of them are focus episodes for Sotaro and Kai that I feel kind of linked together in an interesting way. And the last is probably Gaoranger's most iconic moment as a series. Let's start off with Sotaro's episode, which is where we learn his backstory about being a failed sumo champion turned florist due to developing a crush on some random girl named Shiori. So when he finally sees her again, and she asks him to help run the flower shop with her, he genuinely considers giving him the Gaoranger stuff for that. This is not only interesting because 1, it brings up the question of, can these people ever have normal lives? But also because part of the reason he even became a Gaoranger is that he thought she wanted to be with a guy other than him, as he probably would have stayed if he thought she was still open to being with him. This is made worse since the whole thing with Shiori and stuff was actually a plot that the Orcs take Gao Bison from him, and almost get this crush killed. But through conquering his own fears, Sotaro is able to save the day, as despite his own fear of heights, Sotaro pushes his hand out in order to save Shiori. It actually creates a nice parallel between how Kai saved him in the past, showing how becoming a Gaoranger has allowed Sotaro to become a stronger person. Kai even giving Sotaro some encouragement this episode by validating Sotaro's feelings and hesitation when it seemed like Shiori genuinely liked him, and then he realized it was all an Orc plot. This gets really funny by the end, as it's revealed that she did like him, and has been waiting to see him again ever since he left to become a Gaoranger. Her keeping those feelings inside at the end, as she roots for him to keep on fighting. It's a decent episode all around. I hope Shiori comes back up at some point, because I thought her relationship with Sotaro was cute. Now, let's move on to like 9 episodes later with Kai's episode, where we learn that he used to be a bowling prodigy. Kinda random, but it is relevant as the org in this episode is the bowling org, which hits their enemy with a specific bowling technique Kai's mentor, Don Katayama, used to use in his tournament. But when the team asks Don to help them learn this new technique, Don denies them, as he sees Kai as nothing more than a quitter for leaving bowling to become a Gaoranger. This is kinda crazy given that half his dialogue is never give up, but yeah, this is the one place where he just couldn't keep that up. What's more interesting though is Don in his own way is a quitter, giving up on trying to teach anyone his signature technique just because the one person he thought he could teach it to, Kai, left. But seeing Kai trying to teach himself the technique even to the point of almost messing up his hand like him, and truly showing his refusal to give up on things, Don decides to finally teach Kai the technique. He promises they'll find someone else to replace him, as he can't let his technique die with him. Create an overall pretty decent way to explore Kai's way of thinking, beyond it being a pretty decent catchphrase. I also would bring this episode up anyway, because I think Kai killing the monster of the week with a bowling ball is pretty cool. They even do this with a new form of Gao King that has Gao Hunter's arms called absolutely nothing because they were too lazy to come up with a name. That's not a joke, by the way. The narrator literally comments on them not having come up with it yet. But let's put the joke aside and talk about the final episode of this batch of Gaoranger, the one where they literally all die except Red and Silver. The reason I like this one so much is that it heavily focuses on the show's constant message of never giving up in the face of adversity, and how kind of powerful that is. I mean, I could have also said that about the last episode we just talked about, but shut up. Seeing Kakeru, this guy who's always happy-go-lucky and positive, and generally feel like everything is hopeless after watching all his friends die, generally hits for me as much as seeing him get back up and protect people after hearing the cries of children. An action that inspires the 4 dead Gaorangers to give up their chance to properly pass on. He gave Kakeru the edge he needs to win the battle by creating the super cool Falcon Summoner, causing Kakeru to fight even harder against Ura as he knows his friends are truly watching over him as he does it. Then we finally summons Gao Falcon, who's kind of more of a phoenix to be honest, but shut up, the other 4 Gaorangers come back to life and all Kakeru can do is just fall down in relief and feels to see his friends all alive after they died pretty gruesomely. Then the lies they say to him and how they communicate their personalities, with Sotaro questioning how they're all alive at all, Kai bragging about how he escaped death, Sei talking about how Red and Silver's unwillingness to give up saved them, and Gaku talking to Red about how he can't get rid of him that easy. It's all so gas! Especially with the song Eyes of Justice playing in the background, as this is all happening before they form the mecha it was made for, Gao Icarus, which is somehow both cool and weird looking at the same time. And kills Ura with a bicycle kick with the soccer player like leg. Sure, the episode was kind of formulaic. You can kind of feel the consequences of how basic all the characters are, how their deaths don't hit as hard as they probably should. But I can't really care because everything I'm seeing is so cool. The little bit of connection I was able to build with these characters, as seen by everything else I talked about in this video and the last video, just pushed through and made me still feel something. Like I asked at the end of the last video whether or not my opinion on Gaoranger would improve here, and while I don't think I can fully say it improves, I think I like it a bit more, which is honestly more important at the end of the day. Hopefully my like of it can grow even more in the next video, where we review the final 19 episodes and send our Gao Warriors on their merry way. Hope I'll see you in the final Gaoranger review.